Tell me one thing that she's been stating that is false about what Israel has done, or Benjamin Netanyahu has done, or hold on a second, or the USS Liberty. And I'm sick and tired of people, and I know you said this, it was 50 years ago. I don't give a if it was 200 years ago. The fact that they attacked and killed 34 American soldiers and got away with it, that's an act of war, Adam. Let's just be honest with each other, okay? There's a huge misconception that the moment you criticize what Israel does as a nation, you are a freaking anti-Semite. That's why they pushed that bill in Congress. It's BS, and they get away with a lot, Adam.
It's rare for me to come across anything in media that feels cathartic. That was an example of one of the few times.
The PBD podcast got very heated when it came to the discussion of the Middle East war. And this debate on the PBD podcast got so heated that it set off Anna Kasparian while she was watching it, while she was reacting to it and responding to it. Let's get into this clip here from the Young Turks of Anna Kasparian, breaking down, melting down over the things that was being said in this PBD podcast episode. Let's check this out.
Tell me one thing that she's been stating that is false about what Israel has done, or Benjamin Netanyahu has done, or hold on a second, or the USS Liberty. And I'm sick and tired of people, and I know you said this, it was 50 years ago. I don't give a if it was 200 years ago. The fact that they attacked and killed 34 American soldiers and got away with it, that's an act of war, Adam. Let's just be honest with each other, okay? There's a huge misconception that the moment you criticize what Israel does as a nation, you are a freaking anti-Semite. That's why they pushed that bill in Congress. It's BS, and they get away with a lot, Adam.
Adam Sosnick and Vinny Oshana got into a rather heated debate about Israel's conduct in Gaza. And this was on the Patrick Bet-David podcast, in case you guys aren't familiar with it. Now, Vinny is clearly following the story closely, considering he outlines some of the worst atrocities that have been committed by the IDF and by Israel. Take a look.
I don't know if you guys noticed this. A couple weeks ago, Israeli soldiers were on camera raping Palestinian prisoners, detainees. Okay, I send it to Rob. Okay. I send it to Adam. Am I anti-Semite now? Because I'm proving that not only did they not get in trouble, Israelis came to the prison and rioted to get those soldiers out, and then the soldiers were released, and one of them was on camera saying, "Yeah, we did it." And what? So here's my point, Adam. Just because you want to criticize a certain people criticize the United States all the time. I criticize as a veteran George Bush Jr. and the act of disgustingness that he did with 9/11 and freaking Iraq.
Look, it's rare for me to come across anything in media that feels cathartic. That was an example of one of the few times, but yeah. I have more. Cenk, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, so people kind of expect me and you these days to stick up for Palestinians, etc. But when you see right-wingers do it, it is cathartic, and to see them realize what's going on for the first time in my lifetime, it's such a relief, because it was just, you got mainstream media gaslighting you already. When right-wing media was part of corporate media like Fox News, Sean Hannity, those guys, they repeat the same exact talking points as mainstream media about Israel, right? So now that we have real independent media, and actual opinions are starting to pop out, right? And people are beginning to look into things and not necessarily just take a preset ideology that Sean Hannity gives you and goes, "This is you must love Israel if you're a right winger."
Yeah, this is the truth. This is what you must believe.
Yeah, there is still a large faction of right wingers, even in independent media, that do think like that. Like Ben Shapiro, those types, like Charlie Kirk and those types, they do think like that. They claim America first, but then they always are actually Israel first, and that's just how their side goes. It's kind of like the boomer conservative way to go about it, because they do come from Fox News. They come from watching Fox News and watching Sean Hannity and just being involved in that brainwashing. There's brainwashing on the right wing as much as there is on the left wing. The one unfortunate part about this is that people like Anna Kasparian, people like Cenk Uygur, people like myself, people like Vinny from the PBD podcast, and then people also like Hassan Piker, the Twitch streamer, we get lumped into the same group because we're not full-on pro Ben Shapiro's favorite country. Not that we're like super anti, I guess I kind of am anti that country at this point, but like I'm not pro the other side either. I'm not pro Palestine. Like I don't care about, I just think we should be not involved in any of it. And then we have people like Hassan, and I get lumped in with people like Hassan, who is basically, let's just say, it's not even basically, he is pro-Hamas. Like, not just pro-Palestine, he's pro-Hamas. He thinks that Hamas are the good guys in the situation. And that's like the unfortunate side of this, is that people like Vinny will get lumped in. Vinny from the PBD podcast and the clip that we just watched will get lumped in with people like Hassan and people like myself and Anna Kasparian and Cenk, and these people who are pretty reasonable on the issue of the Middle East will get lumped in with people like Hassan, because it's either in America, because our media is so like, it's so policed that when it comes to this Middle East war, you're either completely pro-Israel or you're someone like Hassan, who is completely anti-Semitic. Like, that's how this thing goes. And it's really unfortunate that that's the case. I'm glad, like Cenk Uygur is saying and like Anna Kasparian is saying, that there are more independent opinions coming out, like Vinny is actually able to speak his mind on the PBD podcast about this situation. But it's unfortunate that they get lumped in like that together.
Yeah, and then now finally people have figured out U.S. liberty, right? That's been forever. In the old days, if you said that, they're like, that's it, you're an anti-Semite, even though it's 100% true.
Yeah.
Right?
So I want to actually get into that. So I want to thank Vinny. Like, we don't agree on a lot of things politically speaking. I was uninformed about USS Liberty until I heard him talking about it, and that made me want to look into it. And so I want to go to an Israeli source on this matter, and that's Haaretz, one of the best publications out of Israel, and they talked about it. So the USS Liberty was basically a spy ship, a US spy ship that was attacked by Israel. This was back on June 8th of 1967. They were attacked by Israel, both by air and sea. 34 Americans died as a result. 171 Americans were wounded as a result.
If you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Now, Israel apologized for the attack, saying that the USS Liberty had been attacked in error after being mistaken for an Egyptian ship. But survivors of the attack totally disagree. They reject that claim, and they maintain that the attack was deliberate. Now, with that in mind, let's go to the Haaretz piece, which you can read for yourselves. It's titled, "But sir, it's an American ship. Never mind, hit her." When Israel attacked USS Liberty, the Americans have findings that show our pilots were aware the ship was American. A newly published document by the State Archives says. And so the Haaretz piece covers basically this book that was.
It's pretty brave of the Young Turks and Anna Kasparian to cover this, especially considering what happens to people who cover stuff like this, thinking of the Candace Owens situation, but also many other situations as well. There's also another clip here from the PBD podcast that Anna Kasparian and Cenk Uygur react to that I want to get into in this video. Let's check this out.
Israel is just this perfect country that is innocent, that has never done anything wrong. No,
have they been held accountable for any of it?
Go ahead. Are you the guy?
No, I'm at. Okay, but you just proved my point. So you can't. Hold on, Adam. You just proved my point. So
you don't have a point.
USS Liberty. Your point is USS Liberty. Dancing Israelis cheering that the towers were coming down, cheering. They all were part of intelligence. They all get because you're full. No. Because you love Israel. You can't. Adam, they can do whatever they want.
I acknowledge
they can do whatever they want.
They are a better ally than enemy.
But you're saying they can get away with murder, Adam, because we're supposed to forget about it.
That's not what I'm saying.
That's horseshit.
So what Vinny is trying to say here is there needs to be some accountability, right? And there hasn't been accountability, and that's a problem. Simply saying, well, Israel's an ally, and so we should just gloss over any wrongdoing isn't enough. And look, there's a lot of people who like to pretend they're America first, right? A lot of
I do not pre-watch these. You guys know I don't pre-watch these, but Anna is about to make the exact point that I have been making and that Candace Owens has been making, and that all these people who actually are independent thinkers have been making. These people love to claim America first, but then they let that country in the Middle East, Ben Shapiro's favorite country, they let them slide with literally murder, actual murder. They let them go because they're not America first. They're Israel, and then everything else comes after. That's the real stance.
People who pretend like they care about this country and they want to make sure our people are taken care of before anything else happens. Vinny is one of those people who actually means it. And so he's a veteran. He did serve in the military, right? He did put his life on the line to protect the country and serve in the military. And so he has that angry response about what happened with the USS Liberty because he thinks about himself, he thinks about the people that he served with, his friends and peers that he served with. And so I totally understand his righteous rage. I mean, I thank him for saying what he's saying, because remember, this is a conservative podcast, right? And usually conservative circles are more rah Israel no matter what, compared to the Democratic circles or liberal circles. So
look,
the conservative space now is not an echo chamber. The left-wing space still very much is an echo chamber. Conservative space is more like, there's open debate about the Middle East stuff. There's a lot of people, like there's people like Dave Smith, who they're not a conservative. He doesn't claim to be a conservative, but there's people like Dave Smith, who is a libertarian, technically, but he hangs with a lot of conservatives, but he will push back on the Israel stuff. He'll push back on the Middle East stuff and say, no, Israel has actually done a lot of things wrong. And then there's people like Ben Shapiro, who are in the conservative space, who will say they can do no wrong. And then there's people like Candace Owens, who worked with Ben Shapiro, worked for Ben Shapiro at the Daily Wire, who will say Israel has done a lot of things wrong. And then she gets fired for, there's a lot of back and forth on this particular subject on the right wing and the conservative space. And the left wing space, it's all just like anti-Israel, pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas. That's what the left wing is. So it's definitely not an echo chamber as the left is on this particular topic.
The premise of the debate was a little off. They're debating whether Dan Bilzerian and Candace Owens are anti-Semitic or not. But you got to separate out those two things, because my issue with Candace Owens isn't that she's against Israel's actions. I'm against Israel's actions. My problem with her is when she says there's a small group of Jewish people in Washington and LA that run the country, et cetera. That's like classic anti-Semitic tropes. And then somebody's got to ask her this. I don't know if somebody has or not, but she liked to tweet saying that Jews drink the blood of Christian children. So if she meant that, and that's not some sort of accident, that is totally unacceptable. That has nothing to do with Israel. That's just nonsense, lunatic anti-Semitism, okay? So I don't know Dan Bilzerian, I don't know anything other than, apparently he's, I know who he is and stuff, but I don't care about him. That's not the point, right? The point is Israel, the government of Israel, doing the right thing or the wrong thing? Should we keep funding them? Should we keep giving them?
I think the main point is, the funding thing for sure. I don't think we should be funding any foreign wars. You guys know my stance on that. Keep the money inside of the U.S. We're paying tax dollars and they're not even being used on problems that we face every single day in our lives. It's really, really dumb, but that point has been beaten to death. I mean, it's basically just never going to happen. It's a pipe dream, right, to stop funding these foreign wars at this point. The main point to me isn't even like if Israel's doing wrong. That's not even the main point to me. The main point to me is being able to at least discuss it, at least have the conversations without getting canceled, without getting fired, without people like Ben Shapiro paying for smear articles to be written against you and the stuff like that happened to Candace Owens. And that has happened to so many other people. Let me know in the comments what you think about Anna Kasparian and Cenk Duer's reaction to this PBD podcast explosion, the very, very heated debate between Vinny and Adam on the PBD podcast. Let me know what you're thinking. Do you agree with Adam, or do you agree with Vinny? Do you agree with Anna, and do you agree with Cenk? I have a feeling on this particular subject, a lot of you will be split. A lot of you will disagree with me completely, and that's fine. Let me know in the comments. What are your thoughts on this whole Anna Kasparian and PBD podcast situation?